Radu, all yours. Thank you.
Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're located. Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for making time to join a technical event during the weekend. So what we'll talk in the next 45-15 minutes will be about how we can reinvent the way how we design, we build, and we develop our applications using different software as a service that are part of Azure portfolio. We'll see that we'll talk a lot around Azure Form Recognizer, and also we'll see how we can combine it with Office 365 tools or with Power Apps. So before going forward, if you want to find more about me, just Google me or connect me over LinkedIn. I started to work with Azure in 2010 and with AWS in 2016. And I would say that most of my projects in the last 10 years were at least 50-60% of cloud, meaning that I don't have any on-premise project anymore. Everything is on cloud, on Azure and AWS. Now, let's jump to our subject and see how we can build AirBuddy matching solution using Azure Form Recognizer. And the nice thing is that we don't need any kind of machine learning or AI skills to be able to do that. Let's see how. So before going forward, think about what Gandhi said, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And related from this point of view, what is important to know and what is important to take into account is that if you start to work on multiple projects and you have a few years of experience, you will see that all of them you're trying to put in the same pattern. Maybe using the same frameworks, using the same tools, and even ignoring new technologies or new solutions that are available on the market. And I think it's very important, at least when we start a new project or a new iteration of a new version of the project that we are working on, try to see what come up on the market new or what things change, because you might be able to do some upgrades. You might be able to innovate the solution, even only 1%, but still it's much better than to be stuck on the same way of, for example, of doing a search, of doing an ordering or generating the UI. And trying to account it, especially nowadays, future is a blend. It's a blend between different technologies, different cloud providers, different way of solving things. And it's pretty hard to say that, for example, future it's only ML, or future is only AI, or future is only AWS or Azure. And in the end, what I see that what is the current trend is to have a blend between multiple technologies, multiple solutions, multiple cloud providers. And the best example here, if you think about Kubernetes, think about that you can develop an end-to-end solution using containers, for example, 10 or 15 different containers having different services, and each of them can use a different technology stack. One can be Java, another one can be .NET Core, another one can use JavaScript, and in the end they can communicate and they can form the same solution that you're working on. And this is why future is a blend. It's a combination between different tools. Statistically, 60% of people prefer to talk on a chat with a bot versus to talk with a human, to communicate directly with a human when they have any kind of business issues. And when I saw this statistic, it amazed me how much we rely already on machine learning and how we as humans change the way how we communicate and our preferences. Maybe because the chatbot will provide us only the information that we are looking for, or it be much faster, or can understand us much better. But I found this information pretty interesting. Also, in 2021, 80% of the emerging technologies will be founded on top of AI or ML. And what is here important to think about? I don't know on how many projects you're involved in, but think in this way. If you're working on, if you're working in a company that has 10 projects, until next year, at least two of them will use partially AI or ML. And don't expect that they will use it and you will implement your own ML algorithm or thing like that. I would say that in most of the cases, we will use software as a service, for example, for search capability or for improving the ads or some recommendation lists that we are providing to our customers and so on. And also, even data is the most important thing that we have nowadays. If you don't have the right search capability, if you cannot extract the data in the right way, well, the data that you have will have no value. And we will see this a little bit later, why Form Recognizer can reinvent the way how we use data, how we process it, and how we can connect it in a pipeline where we can bring additional value. How the story begin on the air body matching solution was in 2019. I visited in September two of our offices. One it is based in Bogota. The other one it is based in Medellin. And these pictures it was taken in from Medellin, from Comuna 13. And during 2 days, I also interacted with somebody that her name was Christina. We changed a little bit name, but we did not meet very often, only in the morning when we seen at the coffee machine, and also in the afternoon. And the second day, she asked me if I have any kind of plans for the afternoon, because also she's not from Colombia. She's visiting the office, and maybe we can go to take dinner together with the others friends from the company. And I found that she is from the same city and from the same country as I am. She's working on the same building as me in my home city in Romania, in Cluj. She was just working on a different department on a different level, but because we didn't know that both of us will come to and visit the office from Colombia, we didn't know each other's. Maybe we could synchronize our flights, or at least to know if we have any kind of issues on site, we can reach each other's and so on. And that was the moment when I realized that even we have so many data, it's pretty hard, for example, especially for a big company, to know exactly who is flying where, for how long we'll stay, and so on. And even if you create a shared calendar, or if you maybe create a team channel, or for example a mailing list, the truth is that nobody will take a look on it or keep it updated, especially if, for example, you have 5,000 people that are traveling all the time, and there will be a lot of spam and so on, and things like that. And I said, okay, why not? Let's see how we can create an out of the box solution that can automatically do this kind of matches and automatically detect who is flying where, when, for how long, and maybe can identify other people that will be on the same flight with you or in the same location during the same period of time, at least to know, well, hey, I will be in Frankfurt for the next 3 days, and look, I have also other colleagues that will be in Frankfurt. 5 of them maybe are from UK, 2 are from US, and 1 is from Romania. And I already know one of them because I used to work in the past. So let's give him a ping. Maybe I can have a coffee with him, or take dinner, or to visit the city together with him. And I said, okay, we should do this. Let's try to see how we can build this. What I will not tackle, I will not tackle the legal part. especially with in Europe we have the GDPR, and other parts of the globe we have other laws. So we don't uh, try to see how this fits from the legal point of view. We are just analyzing how we can build from the technical point of view a solution that can automatically do the matching, extract the data, and so on. And now the biggest challenge is the following, is that uh, first of all, the tickets are in different formats, depending on the agency, depending on the country, and uh, the the airplane company that you are using. The output might be different. Some of them can be in text format, some of them can be in PDF format. The format is not all the time the same. So it's not very easy to create a standard way of how you can analyze these kind of things. And even if you say, well, it's only one department that is managing this. If you are on multiple countries, you are at the global level, you will see that all the time this kind of information flies in a different way. Of course, we need to rely on computer vision, and this is not a tricky thing. OCR exists, I think, for 15, 20 years, and we already have a lot of them that are very, very powerful. But OCR by itself will not solve our problem. So for example, in the picture that we have in the right, it's pretty clear that the OCR will be able to automatically detect all the text that we have here: couple name, save the date, destination, flight name, gate, and so on. Still, who will do the match? Who will detect that the key to represent the destination is destination and the value for destination is Montage Laguna Beach? You might say, well, there are some keywords. Might be some keywords, but take into account that it might be in different languages. Take into account that the format might be different, and even the format of the key ticket can be different. And how? For example, you can have the destination under the destination key. You can have it in the right. You could have the key destination in the left, and the destination in the right part of the ticket, and so on. And this is where Form Recognizer comes to help us, because not only has an OCR support, but also it is doing an amazing thing. What Form Recognizer is allowing us to do is automatically extract the text and do a key value matching. Basically, it can automatically detect what is the key and what is the values from the text. And this is very, very powerful, because in the end, you end up with a JSON where you will have a key like destination and the value, Laguna Beach, California. A key like save the date, and a value like August 31, 2013. The name as a key, and the values, it will be Jessica and David, and so on and so on. So it saves you a lot of effort to write additional code to do the matching of the keys with your own keys that you think that would do the match, and so on. And even automatically detect different type of text. Like here, you'll have here bold, and the text is with a font that is bigger. He will automatically understand that these kinds of are already printed, and it will automatically do the match between them two. Now, if you are taking a look on the Form Recognizer, what Form Recognizer can do? First of all, it's a simple extraction solution. It extracts the text. He will not be able to analyze it, but he will be able to put key values, and also, as we will see below, he can also do some formatting, and also can understand tables, especially if you have an invoice and you have a bill where you have multiple items. Having the ability to understand the table and to extract the data that is in a table format in a row column way, it's amazing and can save you a lot of time. Also, it supports customized results, and what I mean by customized results is that you can do a pre-training and specify exactly what are the things that you are looking for, what is the format, and so on. Also, it has a flexible deployment, and we'll talk this a little bit later. But what is important here to remember that you have one option running inside Microsoft Azure as a software as a server. And the second option that you have is to run on your even on premises, on your on AWS environment, or on GCP, or on IBM cloud as a container, as long as he can reach Azure data regions, Azure backend, to be able to report from time to time how many pages, how many documents you process. And we'll see later on why he needs to do this reporting of the counting. And it has built-in security, so you don't need to borrow too much about where the data will reside, for how long, access to your data, who has access for how long, and do the access management. This comes out of the box, and we'll see a little bit. There are two main things that are supported. The first one is using keys, and the second one is using AD, the Azure AD. Now, let's take a look on a blank demo initially before jumping back. And why? I think these demos that are out of the box provided by Microsoft are pretty simple to understand, and to understand how powerful Form Recognizer is. As you can see here in the left side, we have a simple invoice. Nothing important. On the right side, we see the things that it was able to extract. And we have the key values like address over here, the invoice force, and so this is the key and this is the value, and also it automatically detects the table. And here, interesting thing, what it's doing for the tables, if you have only two rows, one row that represent the keys and one row that represent the values, automatically do the match between the keys and for values. For tables where you have multiple rows, we'll see a little bit later how it's displaying. And this is basically the JSON that is providing to us. From the JSON that we'll also review a little bit later, there are some important things that we need to remember. All the time, for each key in the key value pair, we have the key attribute, the text, in our case, invoice 4, we have the bounding box. And this is pretty cool. And why? Because the bounding box represents the exact location on the page where invoice 4 was detected. In our case, it was detected here, and you have here the coordinates and the size. And why this is pretty nice, you will see also during the presentation, you can just write JavaScript in the browser that once you start to extract the data, it can automatically draw some rectangulars on the information that was automatically detected. Maybe you will have a post validation for locations where the confidence level was not big enough. What is the confidence? For each key value pair, you will have a confidence level that is between 0 and 1. 1 is 100% confident that the matching between the text and the value was perfect, and the output was the one that you expected. It is if it's under 1, let's say 0.8 or 0.9, it is pretty okay. Under 0.7, 0.6, it's recommended to have maybe a human post validation to check the result and things like that. And even here in the samples, as we can see, Microsoft didn't hide that there are some results where the confidence level might not be 1. Like for here, for example, where we have the entries for invoice number and the confidence level is 1. Also, we have the keys and we have the value. And as you can see, for the value, you have all the informations that after that you can combine them. And here it's pretty interesting because the value for invoice 4 is on 3 different rows. He was able to detect this automatically and to decide to group them under one value because he considered it that are under invoice 4. And this is why the confidence level is so low, it's not 1. Now let's take a look on cases where you have a table with multiple rows. And from the JSON way, how it is formatting the result, you will see, especially from this point of view, that the output is a little bit different for the table itself. And why? Because it automatically extracts the values in the following way. So We have, for example, this table with item number. He will put the key is item, and the values will be all these things that are on the all rows. You will have the second column, description, and you will have value 1, value 2, and so on, the quantity, the same thing, and so on. So it will the table output will be in a formatted oriented on columns, not on the rows. And why? Because in most of the cases, the way how you need to process the result, it is it is from a column point of view, not all the time from the rows point of view, especially when you do search and things like that. And the last thing that I want to show to you is this image. And I don't know if you had in the past opportunity to work with OCRs, especially when somebody is not scanning, but it's taking a picture using their phone, and he's not keeping the phone in a perfect position over the bill, or maybe the paper, it's not flat, fully flat, and he has some small waves on it and things like that. On this kind of situation, you will need to do, or you need to ensure that the OCR system has some post-processing things that will automatically do some vector calculation to detect what is the shape of the paper, of the shape of the text, to know that there's a small angle of the vector, and so on. And these kind of things are automatically done and solved by Form Recognizer. Now, until now, what we've seen, especially on the Microsoft website, the samples are on pre-built models. Basically, on the pre-built model, you have the receive model, where especially for the US format can automatically detect time and date, merchant information, items and values, taxes, totals, and so on, and knows pretty well to recognize the most common used receipts that are used, I would say, worldwide. So it's very, very powerful and very easy to use. Now, on top of this, as in our case with the flight tickets, you will use a custom model. You will need to train it. It will automatically do some analyze on top of it, and after that you can start to use it with success for any other images or PDF that you have for your custom model. Now, what is interesting when you are using a custom model is that you need at minimal 5 different samples. You don't need 150 like when you train on ML algorithm or thing like that. No, you only need 5. If you have 10, it's fine, but with only 5, the results are pretty nice. I trained a model with 5, and it worked amazing. You will see that there were some errors. It was not perfect because I didn't done any kind of custom training on top of it to give some hints about the keys and values. And I said, okay, the output was pretty nice, and at least for the information that I wanted to acquire from the documents, like name, date, flight information, it was perfect. I didn't need anything more than that, and I was pretty happy. Now, as I said, where does it run? Where does Form Recognizer run? In a Docker container as a software as a service. You can use it on your on-prem system using a Docker container, or from Azure as software as a service. And here it's pretty a cool thing. Under e-subscription, you can create a free tier that includes 500 pages per month. What does that mean? That you can analyze or you can process 500 pages for nothing. It is out of the box and you will pay 0. And how pages calculated? For example, if you have a PDF that has 5 different pages inside, each page from the PDF, it will be calculated as 1 different page. So if you have 10 PDF, each of them with 5 pages, in total you will consume 50 pages units from that current month. Except this, there are also other ways how you can pay. It is for custom ones, where you will pay around $25 per 1,000 pages, and for the pre-built one, like the one for the receipt, you'll pay $5 per 100 pages. Now, one more thing here to remember. This is why I said that the Docker container, where you are running on your on-prem or on AWS, it will need to have internet connection and to reach the Azure backend, basically Form Recognizer backend. And why? Because at a specific time interval, he needs to report the number of pages that were analyzed. If he will detect that after a while, he will not be able to reach the backend system to report this from the pricing point of view, it will automatically, after a while, to not be able to process the data. Also, when you are hosting on your own systems, for Recognizer, the pricing model, it's a little bit different. It's more or less than hosting inside Azure, of course. Now, let's talk a little bit about the blueprint, about the proposal, how the solution might look like, what kind of services we could use. And after that, we can jump in the demo to see how we can train the Form Recognizer and how we can play with it. Now, there are three different areas of the application and with different systems that we would want to interact. We have internet, we have the automated flows, and we have Form Recognizer. What we need to do is to listen for emails. And why I propose on this way? Because in most of the companies, in most of the corporates, there is one or two different emails groups that are receiving all the offers, all the tickets information, all the travel requests that might be open or are during the processing phase. And basically we like to hook to that and to listen to that email group to be able to trigger a processing of some documents from where you could extract this information. Let's assume that the agency that you are working on is sending an email to the email group of the company with an email where he attached a new ticket for myself, for Radu. Now, before going forward, remember that Form Recognizer can process two types of documents. The first one is the PDF format, and the second one is the image format. If you have them in different formats, let's say like in a doc, like in a document or in any other format, you will need to convert them in PDF or in image. I would recommend, if it's possible, to use PDF, because in this way you'll help a little bit Form Recognizer and you might improve a little bit how the data is extracted, because the OCR part doesn't need to be done so much and you will not rely on it. And nowadays there are a lot of open source libraries that can be used to convert almost everything in PDF. So if you need an intermediate flow over here or to put the from to PDF format, do that. Once you receive the email, there is a trigger on the listener on the emails. That how I propose here would be convert to PDF, because at least in my case, when I analyze some tickets, I seen that most of them are not in the PDF, are not images, of course, they're in text format. That's pretty interesting. So basically they're in classical text format where you have all this information. So I put it in the flow, convert to PDF step that is converting everything in PDF. And that's pretty nice because you don't care about what is your input, you just convert it to the PDF, and from that on you can fetch it to Form Recognizer. Also, another thing that I added here and works pretty nice is that it's sending automatically some alerts over email in the case where the converter cannot convert to PDF format. Until now, I don't had any kind of issues, but if I would receive something in a weird format, then it will notify me. For example, I don't know if somebody is using GIF, for example, to send the email ticket, but if I would receive a GIF, the converter to PDF would not be able to work, and he will send me a notification. After that, we have the call Form Recognizer step that basically is just calling directly the Form Recognizer that is running inside Azure. He automatically extracts the data, from which I'm looking at the name, destination, flights information and the dates. And why flight and not only flight? Because I don't know how it is in your case, but in most of the cases when I need to fly somewhere, or I used to fly, because starting from 28th of February, I don't flew, so I'm really missing that part of the joy, let's say in this way. I usually have 2 or 3 flights before reaching my final destination. So all the time you have multiple flights, you might have multiple dates. Sometimes when you have a long flight, like for example in the US, you might have an overnight. In my case, I used to sleep in Frankfurt for one night, and after that in the morning to have the direct flight to Seattle. So you might have multiple dates and you might want to do multiple matches. After that, the flow would get the responses. In my case, I would keep them in a JSON format, very simple. From where? From the for the get response, and this is where the magic is happening, because from Form Recognizer you are receiving the full JSON, and we'll take a look how a JSON from a ticket is looking for, a flight ticket is looking. This is pretty complicated. Also here is doing, let's say, a translation and a reduce with from all the information, keeping only name, destination, flights, and dates. After that, I'm doing a match, and to do here the match, the most simple way how I'm doing this is basically doing a query over a storage where I have a relational database where I'm keeping all the dates for the future, and also the older one for the last 30 days in the past. I'm just doing the query, and the output that I'm receiving is basically is a match. For example, if we have here a flight for me for Radu, and I detect that Steve, Justin, and Nick will fly in the same time with me, I will just send an email to Steve, Justin, and Nick, and also to myself, that you will have a match for this flight or for this date, and you will be in the same city as Nick for that 2 days, and so on. And I will just send the email notification to the guys. Now you might ask yourself, okay, there might be other solution that you could use, maybe not an email, maybe a portal or things like that. Yes, of course, but think about that a portal, nobody use it too much. And usually the people that want to be notified in this case just send an email to a bot that would automatically put them automatically in the notification list. Now, another thing that could be done and could be pretty cool would be the following. Why not use Teams for that? And why not create a channel on Teams for people that want to be notified? And once you join the channel, at that moment in time, you have the bot, and when you have an output, a match, then you will tag that 2 or 3 people in the chat, and you will specify to them, hey guys, you see, you will have the same flight, or send them a private message on Teams with this kind of notification. So there are multiple ways how you could notify the people, but that's another part of the system. Now, let's take a look and let's see how we can interact, how we can play with Form Recognizer, and how we can use it. Now, to be able to use the Form Recognizer, what you will need to do, first of all, you need to create a new instance of a service called Form Recognizer. If we create a new resource, let's type here Form Recognizer. And what I want here to let you know, and it's pretty important, is the following. If you already created under your subscription free instance of Form Recognizer, you will not be able to do the same for a second one. So here I have a free tier that was already created. If I would try to create another one for you using the free tier FO, it will not allow me to do that. I will not create the Form Recognizer because I already created one, and we can take a look on it. So we have here the form recognizer and also the storage that is used for it. Now, as you can see, my subscription plan was just renewed, I think 2 days ago. So from the code's point of view, I have 500 transactions that I'm able to do. Now, once you've created a new form recognizer, remember there are some things that you need all the time to use when you will be when you want to use it from the SDK, from the curl, or from anywhere else, are the keys. As for Azure Storage, for example, you have 2 different keys, and also you have the endpoint. If you have the samples and you will try to use the samples from curl, they are pretty cool, but be very careful with the URL format because sometimes you'll not be able to do the match. And something that really impressed me here. One second. On the sample, this one I know that over here I have the URL. 1 second. Form recognizer sample curl. Okay, is the following. First time last year when I started to use form recognizer, I started around 10 p.m. after I put my kids to sleep, and I expected to have around 1 or 2 hours of work until I would have a working demo. And I was impressed. Why? Because after 5 or 10 minutes after I created the instance of form recognizer inside Azure, I was able to have a model that was trained and to have the first output. And I say, wow, that's pretty nice. And the samples, at least for curl, are very good, are very easy to use. So I really invite you after the session, just go create a new instance of form recognizer and play with it, especially from the using curl from a command line or from batch, because it's super easy to do that. What else? We have the pricing tier, that you have the free one and the standard. You have other networking and other kind of things, but the most important thing is under the key and endpoint, where you have the keys and the URL. Once you created this, the second thing that you need to create to be able to use the form recognizer with success, it is to create a storage that will be used for 2 things. The first thing will be used to fetch the model with the samples that are used to train the model itself. And secondly, I'm using this storage also to push some tickets when I'm trying to do some tests and so on. So under the container tickets, as you can see, I have 7 different tickets that I'm using for this. Now, one more thing is the following. When you're doing the training, you will need to specify a container under Azure Storage that is used to train the model. So if you have under that model also the things that you want to test, you create 2 different containers. One that is used to train the model, and the second one 2 or 3 simple samples that you are using to test it. So if you want to take a look on how the tickets are looking, in my case, they are looking in this format. It is my personal ticket, so there are no any other information. Initially, the format was text, and I just converted it to PDF format. Nothing more than that. Now, we have the storage, we have the form recognize created. What we need to do next? The first thing that we will need to do basically, it is to train the model. So what we need to specify for this are the following things. First, you need to specify. 1 second, I will come back to this a little bit later. You need to specify the URL of the form recognizer. Here, as you can see, I have RV body. The second thing, it is the subscription key. The secret key, and you usually have 2, that needs to be used and needs to be specified in most of the times when you want to interact with the form recognizer. And the third thing when you want to train it is this one, is the shared access signature of the storage, of the blob storage, where you have your tickets that you are planning to use for training. The output will look something like this. Let's run it, and I hope that it will run with success without any kind of issues. The output looks pretty interesting. Let me increase the font a little bit. Okay. The output is pretty dumb. What is important here from the output is the following. 210 means that was created with success the model, and also the location. And the location URL is very, very important because it contains the model that you just trained now. It is already trained, and this key, this GUID, basically it's the Unicode and Unicode for your model that you train. And under the same form recognizer instance, you can have multiple models. So as you can see now, we have a new train model that I've created, but also when I used it last time, also it provided me another model. So basically, under the current form recognizer that I have now at this moment in time, I have at least 2 models. I think I have around 5 models. You can use them. You can basically do some twitches, use different models, or basically just play around with it, and that's pretty nice. Now, the second thing that you might want to do would be, okay, once I have this model, I want to see exactly, and let's copy this key and keep it for a little bit. 1 second. This is for, and let's take, sorry, because I'm not able all the time to talk in the same time when I'm also do some live editing of the code or writing the code. So let's take this key and paste it here under our new model, and what we'll see now will be what was the output of the last training. Basically, if the training was success, if all the documents that we provided were being able to be processed with success and so on. And in theory, the output should contain only success. It is not formatted, but basically what you can see for each document that was processed with success, we don't have any kind of errors, and the status for all of them is success. If we are taking a look on the one that we have below and that we are using for samples, for all of them we have success, and so on. Also on the number of pages. If you would have any kind of errors, you would have the errors over here. Now, if we go on the portal dashboard, and we take a look on Form Recognizer, RV body, and we go on overview. As you can see, the code is still zero. Why? Because when you train a model, it doesn't consume you any kind of resources. The second thing that you would like to do is the following: is to specify a document, a ticket that you want to process it. When you like to do something like this in curl, what you need to specify the model that you want to use, and all the time the model URL is this one from the location. This is all the time the URL that you need to put here. The key is part of the form recognizer that provide you access to the resource. And the third thing is the source, the location in Azure Storage with a shared signature, where you have the ticket that you want to process. Let's take this one because it's the most simple way just to see how it works. And let's paste it here. what you can see, it's uploading the document, it is processing it, and that's it. Everything was executed with success. And here again you have operational location, where this is another thing that you need to remember and keep an eye on it, because on operation location you will have the location where you have the result of the ticket that you process in our case. And once you have processed it, you can just go and get the result. And as you can see in the result part, you'll need to specify in the get the URL where you have the analyzed result. And it seems that it was already, it's not available anymore, the one that I have available when I prepared the demo last time. So what I will need to do here will be to paste the previous result that I get, because the results are not kept for too long. I don't remember exact for how long are kept, but no more than 3 days. I hope that, okay, and this is the result. It will be pretty hard if you have a batch to be able to take a look on the results. But let's take a view on the result in Notepad++, and this is how the result looks like. Basically, you have the keys and the values for all the information, and of course it is not perfect. So for example, for this, there are multiple locations where I have my names. On this case, he considered the key my name and the value it's the flying date. For the others, like departure and arrivals, he was able to extract and the confidence level is 1. But for example, for my name, where it was as a key, also here the confidence level is 1. So it is pretty nice, it's pretty awesome. But when you are doing, when you have the model, the out-of-the-box model, you need to be a little bit careful. And now let's take a look on the slides, because I have a pretty interesting thing to show to you. When I have delivered the first session on this topic, one of the students that was in the room during the meetup offered me to generate, using the locations where each key and values are on the place, a tool that I'm using with success, basically to see exactly where is the key and where is the value. And for example, what you can see here in a print screen is the output of this tool that is using the locations provided by Form Recognizer to do the match between the keys and the values. This is just a sample that used several different tickets, and without any other forward custom configuration, most of the things were matched with success. The only thing here that is not matched with success and can be a pain for us is the name. As you can see, the name was considered as a key, and the value, it's a date. And why this happened? Because here the name doesn't have a key in front of it or anywhere else. So it's just a plain name in a specific location that was not able to do the right connection between the name and the value. Now, the output is the following. From 29 keys that we had, it detect 29 keys, 28 values, 28 of the cases, the mapping between the keys and the values was with success. And in one case, especially from the thing that we need, the matching was without success. In our case, the name in that kind of formatting. Let's go back to the dashboard to see if we have any kind of update from the code transactions point of view. The code info was not yet updated. So this is the thing that I was telling you a little bit before. When you train the model, all the time, be careful how you specify the URL, because if you go on the samples, and this might create some issues to you. If you go on the samples, what we can see that the endpoint look like that. And here for the endpoint, you might ask yourself, okay, what I need to paste here, because if you take a look here on keys and values, this is the endpoint that is provided to you, and you need to be careful how you paste it here, because not just a copy paste, you need to remove HTTPS, and also over here you'll need to copy something like this and to paste it in the right location. The second thing that you will need all the time to add is the subscription key, and of course the software as the software the third as a signature. From the location point of view, this is the most important thing, the output, because it will contain the model ID that you need to save it if you are using curl or from the SDK that you are using. And when you want to get the model, you need to specify the model and again the subscription thing. From here, what is important to take into account, it's all the time the status, as we've seen a little bit before. When you want to analyze the data, it is the same story. And the operation location represents the location where you have the output. Getting the analyzed data, that ugly JSON that you need to format it in the right way. And this was the output. Why I have this? Because sometimes, especially because when I'm not doing things in the right way, I might have some issues with Form Recognizer because of the things that I've done before and on different models. So I prefer all the time to have some samples. Now, in conclusion, what we should remember from Form Recognizer and from the point of capabilities that it is providing to us. This is an out-of-the-box way how we could do OCR and also to do matching between keys and values that we have in our document. There is no customization that is required. It is pay-per-use, and the training of the model, it's pretty nice, especially when you have models pretty nice formatted. You will do the things very, very easily. Support multiple formats. It is offered as a service, but also, and that's pretty cool, run inside a Docker container. I have another presentation where I show how easily we can integrate and we can use cognitive services inside AWS. And one of the demos is running basically Form Recognizer inside AWS, and that's pretty cool. If you want to find more about Form Recognizer or you have any kind of question to myself, feel free to contact me over Twitter or over LinkedIn, or just send me an email. I also have a personal blog, vunvulea.blogspot.com, where from time to time I try at least one time per week to write different posts related to things that I'm managing or doing in my day-to-day activity for the companies or for the startups that I'm supporting. Thank you. Thank you for listening me. If you have any kind of question, feel free to ask me now.
Thank you, Radu. There are not many questions here, so I'm just going to ask everyone, like, if you do have any question, we got 7 minutes to go, so please feel free to ask now. That would be very beneficial for you. Just talking about your session, it was very informative. You touched all the corners there, where really beneficial for anyone like to learn those, and also the the OCI, the reading text, which is brilliant. I'm sure there are plenty of use cases will be there. Customers will be asking for those kind of elements to be implemented. So yeah, being a technical consultant or being an architect or being a developer, it's going to be really helpful, definitely.
One more important thing that you should remember is the following. At this moment in time, if I'm not wrong, it's still in public preview. It used to be in the private preview. Yes, it is in public preview. So small things might change, especially from the API point of view. So when I started to do and to work with it, it was in private preview, and the API changed from the private preview to the public preview. Usually from the public preview, the Microsoft team doesn't do any kind of changes on the API. But still, you need to keep an eye on it, especially if you want to start to play with it or to use it in production.
Absolutely, and that's a very good comment actually. It's a good point to know. No, great. I'm still monitoring chats and YouTube. There are no questions so far, so everything seems good. So before we go on to the next session, we have next one is coming up 100% serverless with Azure. So I remember Benedict asking the question like, can you explain the serverless? So this session is going to be very beneficial for you. It's going to explain like an architecture, design, implementation, deployment by Leo. Leo, are you on the call?